Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to be having some fun making upcycled atlas bookmarkers. So I'm recording this in the new year, and for a lot of people, including myself, the new year is all about fresh starts. And I thought what better way to pay tribute to it than to turn an old atlas into a fun, fresh set of bookmarkers like this one. And I also got a bunch of books for Christmas, so I desperately need bookmarkers now. All right, so let's talk about materials. Now, of course, you're going to need an old atlas, and I like to use this big, large scale one because I can usually get 2 bookmarkers out of 1 page. You'll also want a scissors for trimming the rough edges, or if you can't cut straight to save your life like me, use a paper cutter. For crisp folds, I use a bone folder. You can use your fingers too, it's optional. Those tools will give us a bookmarker base like this. To decorate the bookmarker, we're using some beginner-friendly items, so don't worry if you can't draw or anything. We're going to use some stencils. Any stencils will do. I got these at Hobby Lobby, and we're going to use stamps. And again, any stamps will do. I got these at a thrift store for a really great price. And then any stickers you want. I have these cool stamp stickers and some fun phrases here. So yeah, the sky's the limit. Any stencils, stamps, or stickers will do. Just have fun with it. And for the stencils, I am going to be filling them in with acrylic paint. I have some turquoise and gold here. Use any colors you like. And I also have a small brush here. And just make sure your brush is small enough to work well with your stencil. I'm also going to do some stenciling with this artist's brush pen in black. And for the rubber stamps, I'm using this black ink pad. Oh, and make sure you have something to put your acrylic paint on, like a palette, and it's always a good idea to have some water and paper towels for cleaning. And finally, you want a single hole punch, and we'll punch a hole at the top of the bookmarker for our tassel. And for my tassel, I'm using some fabric strips. I mean, you could use this like braiding cord I have here, or yarn, or ribbon, anything. Okay, let's make some bookmarkers. As you can see, I've torn a page out of my atlas. It has a rough edge here and needs some trimming, so I'm going to fold it in half horizontally. And then I'm going to grab my bone folder to create a nice crisp fold like this. And now I need to cut off that rough edge, so I'm going to grab my paper cutter, get this lined up, and we just want to trim just that rough edge off. So I'll get it all lined up and whoop, beautiful straight edge, or you can use the scissors. Now I'm going to open it up and cut down that center fold so we have 2 sheets because we're going to make 2 bookmarkers today. All right, these look great. Let's start folding. And I'm just going to take a quick peek to see which side I want to be on the outside, because whichever side you want showing, have it facing down. And so to fold these, I'm going to start with a horizontal fold. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold in the short edge, just a tiny bit. I mean, maybe like 1/2 inch on each side. And then on the long open side, we're going to dog ear each corner like so. And then that top close edge, we're going to take it down about 1/4 of the way. And I like to do this crease with my bone folder because it is a little bit thicker paper. So there you go, get a nice sharp crease there. And then I'm going to take that bottom half and I'm going to fold it all the way up to that top edge. And again, we're going to just crease that with our bone folder or your finger. And then I'm going to tuck that bottom flap under the top flap. And those little side folds we did, that'll help keep it all in place. And you should have this nice, neat, perfect sized bookmarker. And just make sure all of the edges are nice and sharp. There we go. Let's make another one. Again, we're going to make a horizontal fold like so. And then we're going to fold in the short edges about 1/2 inch on each side. And then I want to show you something. So remember, on the closed end, we want to fold that in about 1/4 of the way. And if you're having trouble eyeballing it, what I like to do is kind of fold it as though I'm going to fold it in half, and then I fold it in half again, and you get 1/4 measurement. I hope that makes sense. And then for the open end, we're going to dog ear those corners and then fold that all the way up to the top edge. Once you get that last fold in, then you're going to tuck the bottom flap under the top flap. And always like to go over it again with my bone folder just to make sure everything is very crisp. Okay, we've got our bookmarker bases. Now we're ready to decorate. Okay, I had some recording difficulties, so I made another bookmarker base. Okay, let's start with stenciling, and I'm going to do some acrylic stenciling first. So for this first bookmarker, I'm going to start with some abstract designs. And since this section of map has a lot of small, busy detail, and I want my stenciling to stand out, I'm going to make choices that help me create contrast. So for example, I'm using my turquoise acrylic paint because the map itself has a lot of orange and yellow colors, and blue and orange are on the opposite of the color wheel from each other. So there's a lot of contrast. So it's going to help the blue stand out from the background of the map. And then I'm also choosing abstract designs that are relatively bigger than the very tiny details on the map. And again, with the contrast in size, it'll help my stenciling stand out from the map itself. You could also create contrast by using a really dark color because overall the map itself is pretty light. And of course, you don't have to do high contrast. If you want more subtle details, then, you could do the opposite. For this particular map, for example, if I wanted to do more subtle detailing, I'd probably do tiny dots in light pink because the size of the details would match the details in the map. Pink isn't a very high contrast color against orange and yellow, and then the light value would also be similar. Now for this second bookmarker, I am going to do some subtle detailing. So notice how the overall color of this map is kind of a light yellow. I'm going to use gold acrylic paint for my stenciling detail. I'm going to do a meandering border on the left-hand side, and the contrast in color isn't going to be very big because gold's just kind of like it's a little deeper yellow color, right? But the thing I like about metallic is that even though the color contrast is low, since it's metallic, it's a little shiny, it's still eye-catching, but it's subtle. So this first round of stenciling gives you some really good examples of how to make things stand out or fade into the background, depending on what you want for that particular detail. Just some things to think about and play around with. Okay, that's all the acrylic stenciling I'm going to do, so I'm going to let this dry and we'll move on to some ink details. So the blue swirls seem to be dry, so let's do some ink details. So I've got my black ink pad and I've got my little butterfly stamp, and I need to figure out exactly where I want these. I want to keep this pretty simple, so I don't want to go overboard with my butterflies. And this is a new stamp, so I really got to work it into this ink pad, and I want a pretty opaque first stamp. So you kind of got to rock it back and forth to make it work. That looks cute. I think I'll do one down in the corner and one in the top left corner, I think. Since I want kind of a simple open look, I'm making these details kind of weave around each other and not overlap too much. Okay, I think that's all the stamping I'm going to do, so I'm going to move on to stickers. And I'm going to put a stamp in the corner of this bookmarker. I like the stamps because they kind of go along with that travel theme, and I've chosen a deep pink because notice how I'm building contrast. So there's contrast in color with the map and the little swirls, and then between the swirls and the next layer of detail, it's like lighter color and darker color. So it creates depth and contrast, and everything kind of works together. And I've also chosen a little phrase here, not all who wander are lost. So I'm just going to cut it a little bit to fit and layer it like that. Oh, it's so cute. And I chose black because I want the dark colors to be on those light colors for the contrast. Okay, this looks really cute, but I think it needs one more little butterfly down in the corner. Just a light touch. There we go. Okay, now I think this is ready. I think we're ready to do the tassel. So I'm going to grab my hole punch and just go in a little bit from the top and center it and give it a big squeeze. I need to work on my grip strength. And there we go. So we have our hole punched, and now I'm going to take that little strip of fabric that I cut and just string it through that hole and tie a little knot at the top. And I was actually so excited that I'm able to use this fabric in a project because it was part of a dress that I absolutely loved, and I couldn't wear it anymore. So I cut it up, and now I get a look at the beautiful shimmery fabric every time I'm reading a book. All right, on to our second bookmarker. Now, for this one, I am going to do a little more stenciling, but this time I'm going to use my black brush pen. Now for this one, I'm going to create some more stark contrast between the background and the ink detailing that I do in the sticker detailing. We're going to do that mostly with light and dark values because the background's very light and this bee is going to be all black and the details are incredibly big for the space. So they're really going to stand out and be bold against the backdrop, and I think it's going to look really cool. So as I was gathering my materials for this project, I realized I was kind of doing a nature theme for my bookmarkers because usually, I don't know, with an atlas, you're usually going on a road trip, and I usually road trip to national parks or state parks. So I'm kind of a nature girl, so that's kind of where my inspiration is coming from. But I'm curious about anyone watching out there, what your inspiration would be and like what you would want to put on your bookmarker, on your atlas bookmarker. So leave a comment. I'd love to know, and you could be a wonderful source of inspiration for others too. Okay, the big bee is done, and I know I want to put wings elsewhere on this bookmarker, but I'm not quite sure where yet because I have a rubber stamp that I want to use that's also kind of big. So I'm gonna pair that up with this bee, get it positioned nicely, and then I'll build around that. So this is a new stamp too, so I have to get it really super saturated with some ink. And then I think I'll put it right above the bee, kind of at an angle there. Beautiful. Okay, now that helps me plan the rest of this. So I think, yeah, I'll put wings at the bottom and the top of this bookmarker. And I'm going to position this wingtip perpendicularly to the left edge of the bookmarker because I kind of want to create a frame for the right corner of the bookmarker because I think I'll put another stamp in that top corner, and then of course we're gonna have to put a hole punch in the middle for the tassel too. So it kind of frames up that corner nicely, I think. And that bottom bit is a little empty, so I'm gonna fill it in with another partial wingtip. And that's another thing I want to mention. There's not a right or wrong way to position the different elements on your bookmarker, but I do know personally that I'm usually most happy with the outcome of something I've done when I have taken time to think about what I want the focal point to be. Because if I know what I want the focal point to be, I can make space for it to be in the spotlight and then work to have all of the other elements harmonize around it rather than compete with it. Okay, the ink detailing is done. And speaking of the focal point, let's pick out one of our phrase stickers. I'm going to use a white sticker because I'm going to layer it over that black flower. And I think I'll choose Live, Create, Tell the Story. That seems appropriate for a bookmarker, right? So I'm going to cut this into 3 different segments. And then I'm going to layer it and kind of make a little set of steps like that. There we go. Oh! I think that looks great. And to finish off the sticker portion, let's choose a stamp. I'm going to choose a deep purple because that'll contrast really well with the light yellow background. All right, we're almost done. I think that's looking good. So let's finish it off with a hole punch at the top center to make way for our tassel. And while I'm tying things off here, I just want to say thanks so much for watching today. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. It really goes a long way in supporting my channel. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. And of course, if you have any questions, feedback, or ideas you want to share, go ahead and leave a comment. It absolutely makes my day. I love hearing about anything you have to say. So yeah, don't be shy. All right, I've got a fresh set of bookmarkers. I better start reading. As always, thanks so much for creating with me today. Until next time, take care.